Let's think about the last time you had a glass of water. It's something we all do every single day without even thinking about it. We just assume it's clean, it's pure, it's safe. But what if there's an invisible threat lurking in that very glass?
Yeah, it's a question that might make you a bit uneasy. And you know what? It probably should, because the truth about what's in our water, whether it's from the tap or a bottle, is a lot more unsettling than most of us ever imagined.
All right, so let's pull back the curtain on this invisible intruder. We're talking about something that has spread everywhere in our environment. It's in our oceans, it's in our soil, and most worryingly, it's in our drinking water.
And the culprit is microplastics. These are incredibly tiny bits of plastic, so small you can't even see them with the naked eye. And it's not just one thing. It's kind of this catch-all term for a huge environmental issue that's now become a very personal one.
So where is all this stuff even coming from? Well, what's so wild is just how normal and everyday the sources are. We're talking about everything from our plastic bottles and bags, slowly breaking down over time, to the synthetic fibers that shed from our clothes every single time we do laundry, even the dust from our car tires. It's basically a byproduct of modern life.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of the source. But to really wrap your head around this issue, you've got to understand the scale of the contamination. And I'm not going to lie, the data here is genuinely shocking.
And let's be clear, this isn't some problem happening over there somewhere else. A massive global study looked at tap water from all over the world, every continent, and the results were just staggering. This invisible threat, it's a full-blown global crisis.
83%. Just let that number sink in for a minute. More than 4 out of every 5 tap water samples tested around the entire planet had plastic fibers in them. It's in the water we use to drink, to cook, to clean, everything.
And if you're listening from the United States, well, the news gets even worse. The U.S. had the single highest contamination rate in the study. Get this, 94% of samples were contaminated. That really brings this problem right into our own kitchens, doesn't it?
Okay, so you're probably thinking, fine, I'll just grab a bottle of water, right? I mean, that's supposed to be the pure, safe option. Well, not so fast. A major study on bottled water found that 93% of samples were contaminated. That's even higher than tap water. And they found an average of 325 plastic particles in every single liter. The plastic bottle itself is literally shedding into the water you're about to drink.
So here's the big question. Why does any of this matter? Okay, so there are tiny bits of plastic everywhere. So what? Are they actually harmful? Well, the scientific community is raising some really serious alarms about our health. It really boils down to 4 main concerns. First, these plastics can act like tiny little rafts for germs, carrying bacteria and viruses right into our bodies. Second, they can leach toxic chemicals like BPA. Third, the absolute tiniest particles can physically pass into our bloodstream and get stuck in our organs. And finally, there's bioaccumulation. They can build up in our bodies over our lifetime, and we just have no idea what the long-term effects of that are. And check this out. This physical risk isn't just a theory. It's not a what-if. Scientists are already finding these plastic particles inside us. I'm talking about in our lungs, in the placentas of unborn babies, and even circulating around in our blood. It is happening right now.
To really tackle this, we've got to understand how in the world these plastics are getting into our water supply to begin with. Let's trace it back.
Turns out there are a bunch of different pathways. Our wastewater treatment plants, for example, they just weren't designed to filter out something so incredibly small. We already saw how plastic bottles shed particles. And believe it or not, even the plastic pipes and fixtures in our own homes can release microplastics. And of course, there's runoff. Rain washes it from everywhere directly into our water sources.
But here's a really surprising connection, one that could be happening right inside the walls of your house. Your home's plumbing might actually be creating a hidden trap that concentrates these particles, all thanks to a really common household problem.
Yep, I'm talking about limescale. You know that hard, crusty mineral buildup in pipes? It doesn't just slow down your water flow, it can actually trap and collect microplastics, creating these little pockets of super concentrated contamination. Then, when a chunk of that limescale breaks off, it can release a much higher dose of plastic particles into your water all at once. It's like a double threat.
Okay, I know. This all sounds pretty alarming. But listen, the goal here isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. So let's switch gears and focus on the most important part. What can you actually do to protect yourself and cut down on your exposure?
First things first, install a good water filter. You're going to want to look for one that can filter particles down to 1 micron. That'll catch most of these fibers. Second, pretty obvious one, but try to avoid plastic water bottles. Third, make the switch to glass or stainless steel for storing your water. Fourth, something you might not think about, keep your water heater maintained to reduce plastic shedding from its internal parts. And finally, if you want the best protection, you can look into a whole house filtration system for every tap in your home.
So, the bottom line is this. Something as basic as our drinking water is not what we thought it was. It's contaminated with the microscopic remnants of our plastic-filled world. And that leaves us with one last really important question. If we were this wrong about our water, what other fundamental assumptions about our health and our environment should we be questioning?